All right, what's good, YouTube? It's me, Coach 67 Sports TV. Shout out to the awesome and amazing LDBC, Lions Den Boxing community. Shout out to the greatest university in the world, the Southern University, home of the mighty Jaguars. On this particular live stream, we're going to talk about the undisputed light heavyweight fight tomorrow night between Devin the Dream Haney and Vasiliy Lomachenko. Uh, my panelist is on with me, Raymond. Tell the people what's good with you, Raymond.
What's good? What's good? Just here to give my analysis and my point of views on this upcoming, match against Devin Haney and Lomachenko. It should be a good fight. Hope y'all living good out there.
All right. Well, like I said earlier, tomorrow night, Vasiliy Lomachenko is going to challenge Devin the Dream Haney for the undisputed light heavyweight championship of the world. Now, a lot of people don't realize this. I pointed out in the previous show. At one point, when Loma, when he became the unified champion, once he beat Luke Campbell to become the unified champion, Devin the Dream Haney was his mandatory. So instead of fighting Devin Haney, what he did was he applied for the franchise championship with Mauricio Suleiman, and he became the WBC franchise champion. And automatically, that made Devin Haney the WBC champion. Now, a lot of people, they like to say that Devin Haney was the email champion at the time before he beat George Kambosos. But it wasn't due to Devin Haney not wanting to fight Loma. It was the fact that Loma ducked him, and Loma didn't want any smoke with Devin Haney, and basically he took the easy route. So now that he's lost since then, of course he lost excuse me, he lost those belts, and basically he's in a situation now where to become undisputed, he needs to fight Devin the Dream Haney. So what are your thoughts on this particular fight tomorrow night, Ram?
So my particular thoughts on this fight is, I feel like this should be a very good fight, a good competitive fight. I believe Devin Haney was saying this when he was on a pivot. He was recently on the pivot, with Ryan Clark, Shannon Crowder, and I think it's Fred. I think his name Fred Taylor. He was on the pivot, and I was watching,
Yeah,
that episode of the pivot.
Used to be the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
Yeah,
I watch
yeah,
the pivot
yeah.
sometimes.
So he was just talking about when Lomachenko was in his prime and he was kind of on the come up. He was calling out to have that fight with him, and he was like ducking him, like you were saying, but he was like he felt kind of like disrespected, by that. But he was like, now the roles is reversed. It's like, Lomachenko kind of, I don't want to say he on a decline, but Devin Haney in his prime now, and I guess you could kind of say Lomachenko still in his prime and whatnot. But I feel like this is gonna be a good fight. But I feel like this is gonna be a Devin Haney, another one of his classics. Like he's gonna have an all around good boxing performance. That's what I feel like. I feel like it will go to a decision. I don't think Devin Haney will knock him out. Also, he was talking about how people they kind of sleep on his knockout power, and I could definitely see that. But for some reason, I don't see him getting a knockout in this fight. I see it going to decision. But hey, who knows?
Now, one thing I'm gonna agree with you, Raymond. I think you kind of tiptoed around it, but from my point of view, I think Vasiliy Lomachenko, I think he is on decline at this age and this stage in his career. The reason being is because people don't realize, even though he won 2 gold medals in the Olympics, Vasiliy Lomachenko has a long amateur career. So at a certain point when he was winning gold medals, he was a grown man and he was fighting against teenage boys. And in addition to that, when he lost to Teofimo Lopez, I think it basically, to a certain degree, kind of exposed him because, people don't realize, Bob Arum, top-ranked promoter, he has a long, illustrious roster of fighters that he promoted, whether it's Muhammad Ali, whether it's Sugar Ray Leonard, Floyd Mayweather Jr., Oscar De La Hoya. He was a promoter for all of these fighters. And basically, he said from a technical standpoint that even though he was a promoter for Floyd Mayweather Jr., Sugar Ray Leonard, he said that Vasiliy Lomachenko was the most technically sound fighter that he saw since Muhammad Ali. I think to myself, bro, like you making like some ridiculous asinine comments, and a lot of the hate that Devin Haney, a lot of hate that Vasiliy Lomachenko is getting, it's not because Vasiliy Lomachenko is saying these things, is because he's being hyped up, to a ridiculous extent in terms of, them making him something that he's not, and basically, tell me your thoughts on in terms of, do you think Loma is a hype job? Is he overrated?
Me personally, I feel like he kind of is overrated. Is he? Is he? I can't say great boxer. I know you're gonna get on me for that, but is he a good boxer? I think he is a good boxer, but it's different levels to this. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of good boxers out there, but is he like one of the top dogs? He's in that category of top dogs, and I feel like he is a good boxer. But I feel like I would agree that he's overrated based on the comments that you were saying. Like he's the best technically sound person since Muhammad Ali. Like what? Like compared to some of the guys that's currently fighting right now, he don't got the resume that they got. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So it's like for comments like that, like nah, that's definitely overrated. But I like to be careful with saying that a person is overrated because I don't want to take it away from that person actually being a good athlete or a good boxer, or whatever profession or field they may be in. Overrated based on those comments, yes. But is he a good boxer, a pretty decent boxer? Yes.
Well, and like, basically every time I talk about Loma, basically I kind of talk about the Brett Favre effect. And what I mean by it is, Brett Favre is a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback, and he was a great quarterback. But when he would play, because I remember one game, I was watching, the Packers were playing against the Falcons, and Michael Vick dropped back the pass, and he threw in a double coverage. And basically, the announcers were like, "Oh, that was a stupid decision. It was a terrible decision. Like, why did he make that throw?" Yet, when the Packers were on the field, Brett Favre dropped back the pass, and he threw in a quadruple coverage. And they were like, "Oh my goodness, he's a gunslinger." And I'm like, look at the hypocrisy. Like, when Mike Vick made the pass in the double coverage, basically, it was a stupid decision. He has a low football IQ, blah, 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 blah. But on the flip side, when Brett Favre, throws in a quadruple coverage, he's a gunslinger. And, this is one of the issues that HBO Championship Boxing had. Of course, Bob Arum really was the catalyst of that, where they really, you had somebody like maybe a Floyd Mayweather Jr., he would box, he would get on his toes, and basically it was boring. But on the flip side of it, when you have somebody like Oscar De La Hoya, who's doing the same thing, it's beautiful boxing, and it was like a high level of hypocrisy from that standpoint. And I think, when it comes to somebody like Loma, I don't think it's the fact that people say, they think Loma is trash. I think he's a very good fighter, but I think he's overrated. And I think he's a good fighter. He's not a great fighter. It's like, whether it's boxing or whether it's basketball. Just say, for example, Luka. It's Luka now. At one point, it was Larry Bird. It's not that these guys are not great players, but if you let some of these people tell it, like Luka is the greatest player in the NBA, and I'm like, he might be top 5, but he's not the best player in the league. And I think it's the same effect when it comes to Loma. Basically, he's been hyped up, and it seems as if when they talk about his greatness, they kind of include his amateur career, which they don't give a lot of black fighters that benefit. And just think about it. He fought for a world title in his third fighter, is a professional fighter. Whereas, most boxers, they can't get a fight for a championship until like maybe 20, 25 fights, almost 30 fights into their career. So, that's the point basically I was making in terms of my prediction for the fight itself. I think the reason why Loma ducked Devin Haney is because he knew from an athletic standpoint, a lot of these things that Loma does, we've seen black fighters do the same thing before, whether it's Floyd Mayweather Jr., whether it's Sugar Ray Leonard, the hand speed, the angle, so on and so forth. I'm leaning heavily towards Devin the Dream Haney. Like you said, Raymond, I don't think he does not have knockout power. He's more of a technician. He works behind the jab. He's a beautiful boxer. So I think it's going to go to, a decision. I think one thing that I really kind of feel to point out is the fact that this is going to be Devin Haney's last fight with Top Rank. And basically, Devin Haney and his father, Bill Haney, who I met at the meet and greet, basically they asked Bob Arum, like, hey, when Devin wins this fight, or if he wins this fight, we could give you an option for a fourth fight, and we could fight Shakur Stevenson after this particular fight. And basically, Bob Arum was like, nah, I'm good. This could be your last fight with Top Rank, whatever. And, myself and a lot of other people, basically, we feel that Bob Arum, he has a lot of political clout. People used to talk about how much of a crook Don King was, but I feel like Bob Arum is that twice as much as Don King was in his heyday. And the fact that, basically Bob Arum, he has a lot of pull and a lot of clout from a political standpoint. He's able to get a lot of things done. So we feel like, if Devin isn't extremely dominant, he doesn't stop Loma, then they might try to rob Devin tomorrow on the scorecards. I mean, of course, I don't know if you saw the fight last week, but basically Rolly lost that fight, and he got a gift stoppage in his favor. So I predict Devin Haney I think he's going to dominate the fight, but on the scorecard, I think he's probably going to get a 116, 112 type win. And of course, that's like 8 rounds to 4, but it might be even closer. So just before we wrap it up, Raymond, so, what do you think about the potential for a robbery in Vasiliy Lomachenko's favor? Do you think there's a possibility, with all the corruption and the politics in boxing, do you believe that is a strong possibility that that Bob Arum is not going to let Devin Haney, because he refused the option for the Shakur Stevenson fight between Devin Haney and Shakur if Devin Haney wins tomorrow night and beats Loma. So do you think it's a strong possibility we get a robbery or not?
I mean, I do believe there's like corruption in the scorecards when it comes to combat sports. Do I think it will happen tomorrow? I don't think so. I feel like you were saying, it's going to be such a dominant fight. It will be just outlandish, to kind of mess with the scorecards like that. I feel like Devin Haney will dominate the fight, and for him to lose on the scorecards, like I feel like that'll just be like people just be like, okay, like this, like it's just off the walls. Now, could they make the scorecards close? But still, even if they do, he's still gonna get the dub. So I feel like it won't happen. Could it happen? Yeah, but I feel like it really won't happen because Devin Haney is that good of a fighter, and I feel like he would have that much of a dominant fight, And I guess while I'm still talking, I guess I probably could go on to talk about like, because that's the fight I want to see, Shakur versus Devin Haney. And I feel like common sense would tell you that's like the next perfect fight to make. Because both of them, that's why I really watch both of them so much, because both of them are on Top Rank. And ESPN has Top Rank. So I could really watch a lot of the Top Rank boxing matches. And I feel like that would have been the next perfect fight, but I don't know, maybe, it seems like somebody's trying to protect somebody. I don't know if you agree with that or not.
Well, I mean, I agree from the standpoint of Shakur, even though he was unified at 130, with the politics in boxing, he didn't become undisputed. And I felt like he really should have, instead of him moving up to 135, I felt like he should have took the Devin Haney route and pretty much cleaned out the division. Of course, it was easier for Devin because he was only one fight away from undisputed. He had the WBC title, and George Kambosos had all the rest of the titles. So it was easy. And of course, prior to that, with Teofimo Lopez, basically, either way, he was one fight away. So whether he fought Tio or whether he fought George Kambosos Jr., Devin Haney was only one fight away. So basically, it was easier for him to become undisputed. Whereas, when it came to Shakur, he was going to have to fight multiple fights because they had, four different champions. But even with that being said, I want to see the Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson fight if Devin, gets by Loma. But the fight I want to see more is Devin the Dream Haney against Tank Davis. To me personally, I feel like that should be the next fight. Because the thing about it is, Tank has called out Devin Haney, and Shakur Stevenson has called him out also. But I feel like, he's preparing for Loma. Why not wait? Because I don't know if you understand this with the sport of boxing. A lot of these fighters, they are clout chasers. What I mean by that is, just say, for example, Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia, he wants to fight, for the WBC title, right? Once he became the mandatory for the WBC title, he didn't want to fight Devin Haney. He wanted to fight Loma. And every time it was a situation where, I'm sorry, he didn't want to fight, my bad. He didn't want to fight Devin Haney. He wanted to fight Tank, right? So every time he actually is in the clear and he didn't have anybody to fight, once Tank is tied up, he would call out Tank. He would call out Devin Haney. But I'm like, when you had the opportunity to fight those fighters, you didn't want any smoke. So why are you calling them out? So he just was doing that for, it's a clout chasing tactic and measure. And the same thing with Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. Every time Wilder is free and clear, Wilder would try to fight Anthony Joshua. Eddie Hearn, they didn't want to fight. But yet, as soon as Deontay Wilder has a fight with somebody like Robert Helenius or whoever, as soon as Wilder's tied up, hey, we want Wilder next. So more than anything, you're using Wilder's name, one, to clout chase, and two, to keep yourself relevant. So when you do fight a bum, and I don't mean it a bum from standpoint of I mean from a lower level caliber fight, like a C, D, F level fighter. When you fight one of those type of
Look like Coach might have got disconnected. I'll just wait here for him to join back on. Hello?
Yeah, you there, Raymond? Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, what I was saying is, uh, I don't think Shakur is intentionally doing it, but more than anything, it kind of comes across as a distraction type tactic
Mm-hmm.
when he calling out both Tank and Devin Haney leading up to the fight to their respective fights. So me personally, my preference would be just if he just waited till Devin Haney and Loma finish their business, then he could call out the winner. But my preference would be if he can fight. Now, I know from a politics standpoint, it'll be easier if he beat Loma and then he just turned around and beat Shakur and then he fought Tank. But me personally, my preference would be him to fight Tank next because that's the mega fight. I mean, as
Yeah.
big as somebody like AB was, Adrian Broner, I think if Devin Haney and Tank Davis fought, the fight would be even bigger than what AB was when he was at his height.
I agree.
I mean, that's my personal opinion. So more than anything, I'm thinking to win, by decision. Like I say, 116, 112. That's like 8 rounds to 4. Now I think there's gonna be some shady business going on score. I still think, like you said earlier, I think Devin is gonna have a dominant performance. He's gonna basically put a masterclass performance on more than anything. And in addition to that, it's just gonna be interesting to see, because even when Floyd fought Canelo, you know, leading up to the Canelo fight, Floyd built Canelo up from the standpoint of he had Canelo on all his undercards, and when they actually fought, I couldn't find a round to give to Canelo, maybe one at best. And the scorecards was like 115, 113. Basically, that's like 7 rounds to 5.
Yeah.
And I think one judge scored at 114, 114. So that he didn't want a unanimous decision. He had a majority split decision in his favor, which was ridiculous to me, considering how he just outclassed Canelo the whole fight. So, it's a sport of boxing. There's a lot of corruption, a lot of politics, and the boxing fans, they just kind of take whatever and tired of big wigs, these networks, these promoters, whatever they give to them. Because I
Yeah.
mean, there's no reason why, for example, like Errol Spence Jr. In terms of Bud Crawford, there's no reason why we shouldn't have got that fight. There's no reason why we shouldn't have got Deontay Wilder against Anthony Joshua. There's no reason
Right.
why we shouldn't have got certain fights. We still wait for them at this point. So the sport of boxing is corrupt. Like you said, Raymond, that's the reason why the UFC has overtaken boxing is because of all the corruption and the politics, and a lot of these fights, the expiration date, and like I was telling you earlier in the text message, the one thing about Floyd Mayweather Jr. versus Manny Pacquiao, like the biggest pay-per-view attractions at that time. So that's the reason why the fight did so many numbers. But in this day and age, you can't afford to milk a fight because I'm at the point out as a boxing fan. I care if Terrence Bud Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. ever fight at this point because you made us wait too long from a boxing standpoint. Is that two
Right.
won't necessarily fight. I think it might be the powers that be not really willing to give them the advance money up front. When it comes to Canelo, they could really literally roll out the Brinks truck in terms of give him money. But when it comes to these two fights, it's like, well, we only have a limited amount of money. Y'all just got to get your money on the back end. And I mean,
Yeah.
that just kind of exposes the corruption in boxing, the politics in boxing, and the racism in boxing. So
Yeah.
that's gonna conclude this live stream. Raymond, he picked Devin Haney to win by a dominant performance by decision. Myself, I picked Devin Haney to win also. Any closing thoughts that you have for this particular live stream, Raymond?
Nah. I don't have any,
In fact, tell the people where they could find you.
All right, so y'all could subscribe
Tell
to
the people
my
where they could
YouTube.
find you on social media.
You can find me on social media at underscore King Ray with two Y's underscore. And you can find me on YouTube, Ray Swank. And I believe Swank has a S. Not a I was thinking it had a dollar sign, but it just got an S on Swank. So it's just Ray Swank and King Ray with 2 Y's and 2 underscores at the front and at the end for Instagram.
All right, then. Y'all tune in tomorrow for episode 10 about you. And also, yesterday I dropped about where the SWAC championship game should be held. Should it be held at a neutral? Should the team they hosting it now? So that was my last video. Upcoming video, we're gonna talk about the too early to tell top 10 HBCU football rankings. So that's it for this video. Hopefully y'all like the live stream. Hopefully y'all enjoy the fight tomorrow night between Vasiliy Lomachenko and Devin the Dream Haney for their undisputed light heavyweight championship of the world. We'll catch y'all on the rebound. Y'all have a blessed, phenomenal evening. Peace and blessings.